Hello everyone, Argsy here. You're joining me today on Red Dirt County, and we are taking a look at a recently released mod pack. Now, this was released on the custom modding group on Facebook by Justin Gilbertson, and it is a Spudnik Potato Harvester Pack. Now, I was quite excited, and I've been following the progress of this pack for quite a while now, and looking forward to it coming out. I grew up on a potato farm, so even though potatoes get a bit of a bad rap in farming sim, I'm actually quite enjoy them. So having something that would allow me to do potatoes on a bigger scale without going down the crazy modded harvester was something that quite excited me. So I thought I'd take a look at this and share it with you and get you excited about it too. So the pack consists of 4 pieces. We've got the 12 row planter, the 8312, which is sitting there on the left. In the center here we've got the 6180 8-row windrower, and on the end here we've got the 5640 pickup 4-row harvester, and to accompany them or complement them we have a Trinity live bottom trailer there. So 4 pieces to the pack, right from planting through to harvesting and obviously transporting. So we'll go and have a look at the planter first and see what we get. Right, so just taking a look at the different bits and pieces here in the store. The planter here on the right hand side, the 8312, now requires 260 horsepower, plants at 11 meters wide, has capacity for about 8,000 litres of seed, and will plant at 6 miles per hour. Now, no customization with the exception of some options on the flag. American, Canadian, Spudnik flag, or no flag. And that's the same on both sides. Now on the planter here, the flag is purely decorative, but when we look at the windrower, there is a purpose to the flag, so you'll see we can't actually have no flag on that. So that's the planter, $55,000, and planting 11 meters wide, which is pretty impressive compared to some of the standard planters, or the in-game planter. I think the biggest one there is 6 meters, so we're almost double the planting width that you can get from the standard equipment, and much cheaper. So a bit of a no-brainer for me there. So moving on, having a look here at the windrower, the Spudnik 6180. So again, very limited in options. You have a left discharge or a right discharge. Now obviously this is so you can run them in pairs, have them going up side by side, and have the windrower going into the center between the two. So the purpose, as I said with the flag, is so you know which side it's discharging from. So there's a visual cue there. When you're in the field, you know which is which. Now, 145 horsepower required to pull it. It picks up 6 meters. It does only go at 3 miles per hour, so it's not a fast piece of equipment, not a fast operation, but probably about the speed you'd be wanting to lift potatoes out of the ground. It does have a small capacity there of 2,000 litres, but when I come to showing it in the field, you'll see that's kind of irrelevant because you're obviously wanting to dump it into a windrow, and that's just a function of how the modder has made this work. $9,000, so if you just want to run one and go up and down the field, it would obviously windrow to the same side on each pass, so you just get a double windrow, but even to get 2 of them, not too expensive. So that's the windrower. And the third piece of the puzzle is the 5640, which is called a 4-row harvester, but for all intent purposes this just picks the windrow up off the ground, so it doesn't actually harvest any potatoes. And again, no customization except for the flag options there. It has a capacity of 5,000 litres, pretty small, but the intent is that you'd run a truck or a trailer or something along next to it and it would unload direct into that. Needs 150 horsepower and goes at 4 miles per hour. Price of this, $45,200, so a little bit more expensive once you've added in that with the windrowers. But there it is. So those are the 3 pieces of equipment there that you'd need. The last piece that we talked about before, the trailer, just take a quick look at it here. The Trinity Eagle, $44,000, has a capacity of 69,800 litres. Will take all of your fill types, including any custom ones that are on the map, which are all these ones you can see there on this map. And it does bring a few more options for customization, just through your colours. So main colour does the frame, and obviously the rim colour is the wheel rims down there. That's the main features in the shop. I think the best thing to do now would be to get the planter out in the field, get that up and running, show you how that works, and then once we've got some potatoes grown, we will jump into the harvesters and get those going as well. Alright, so we're over here in one of these beautiful red dirt fields. Now, just before we get started on planting, I do just want to point out one thing. Just going to disconnect the side quests there. You'll notice that the planter only has a 1 gallon capacity for the fertilizer. So to use fertilizer with this, you will need to run some side tanks or a front tank. Kale Farms have a great front tank that you can use on a 3-point hitch, or it does attach to their Steiger series. Otherwise, you know, something like this, the Sid Modding John Deere, which has the Demco tanks which go with it. Let's have a look now at the animations as we unfold this. So when you unfold it, it drops the wider arms down there. You can see them coming down on either side. And then once they are down and locked in position, there's a couple of wings just on the back which come down into position, and they feed the seed out of the hopper and into each of the row units. So that's a pretty good looking setup. It seems to work pretty well. And just in general, the model has the cultivated twines there on the front, bit of an opening. Well, it's not really a wheel, I'm not quite sure how you describe that. It's a bit of a wedge really, shank possibly, that opens the row. The potatoes would then run around the belt, drop down into the open row, and then they have the closing wheels on the back there. So pretty accurate there, looks very good. Alright, let's try it out planting. Now, one thing I have discovered is if you try and turn it on when it's lifted, it will tell you to unfold it. Now obviously I've already unfolded it. So what it's asking for, which makes sense because you don't want the belts all running around while the planter's in the air, is it's asking you to put it down. So there we go, we've got it down now. And if we just come around the back here, you can see our row units are working, our PTO shafts there are all vibrating and moving around. So we are good to go. Let's start running down this edge. Now I'm just going to hire a worker just while I'm on this camera angle, just to make sure we keep a nice straight line. And you'll see there we're using up our potatoes, we're using up our fertilizer, and starting to get a nice wide 11 meters of potatoes planted. A nice little flutter there on the flags. You can see our potatoes going up and around on the belts, and they'll obviously be dropping down into the rows. There we go, we'll just let the worker run on and get that all done. You'll see if we just jump into the mini map there, we're getting our rows planted. You can see our fertilizer being applied, so everything is working as we would expect. Alright, so moving on from planting, I've got a field I prepared a little bit earlier, and we're going to get into getting some of these potatoes lifted and then picked up by the conveyor or harvester. We just get this unfolded. It's a little bit slow to start, but I have pressed the unfold button and it will go down. There we go. There's a little bit of a delay on the animation for that. Basically, once we get into the field, I'll do my best to get it lined up nice and close to the edge. Go zoom out so we can see. Now I can turn that on. Obviously the belt starts going around, lower it down and start driving along. Now what I do need to do, which it's already doing actually because I've just had a bit of a play, is you need to tell it to dump to ground. So I've just turned that off and you'll see that it'll not unload. Now if I just tell it to unload, it'll dump the potatoes out and keep making that windrow along the edge. So I've actually set up already a course play course for this, which I'll just turn on. You can see there it's just an up and down, no headlands or anything like that. And I've got this set up for 2 machines, so we've set this one to left. And I wanted to test whether this, because it had to dump to ground, whether I could use course play to do this. So we'll just go from nearest waypoint and drive course, and there you go, you can see potatoes just down in there between the rows. starting to unload, so they're all getting picked up. We'll just hop out and go and have a look at that. There you go, that's a bit clearer. So normally these 3 or 4 rows in the middle would be harvested by the harvester, and then the next 8 rows across here would be done by the windrowers. It doesn't quite work that way. We actually have to do the rows all by these lifters rather than the harvester. If I just hop into here, we'll get this one unfolded as well. And set this up on the same horseplay course, which will be the left hand one, which would be the right hand of the two. Again, I've already loaded all that in and set this to right. Now I do need to tell it before we do that. I need to tell it to unload to the ground, or it won't do it automatically. And we'll just hit drive course there. Once they get into the field, we should see, here we go, the windrow is growing. So not the fastest job, it is only 3 miles per hour, but all the same, with these two machines we're covering about 12 meters of width. I believe they were 6 meter coverage, so certainly getting a decent amount of field covered in one go. What are we being left with? So we're being left with this windrow, which we will go and get the windrower and get set up to start picking those up. Alright, so here we are. We have the harvester or lifter or whatever you want to call this. We've let the windrowers get a couple of rows ahead of us just to give us a little bit more space on the field. So I've got over here, we just need to get the conveyor belt unfolded like that. Now I've already got it lowered down and in position, so if we just turn it on, I'll start driving forward just a little. You'll see, there we go, we've started to pick up some of these potatoes. Now you'll see that we will fill up incredibly fast because this does not have the storage capacity, as I said when we were looking at it in the shop. So we'll get to 100 or just short of 100 pretty quickly. So I'm going to get the truck, bring that over, and then I've got a little method of setting this up on courseplay that I've tested and seemed to work, so I might give that a try and just explain that while we're having a look at this, because the more of this potato harvest you could get running automatically, I think the more bearable it'll become. Right, so I have the truck set up there next to us. I've got that running on follow me, so it should drive along beside us as we move. There you go, and hopefully unload into it while we're on the move. Seems to be a bit of a sweet spot with the trailer, but there you go. We are flowing into the back of the trailer there. I'm just going to pause for a second and have a look at this courseplay course that I have. Now I'm just going to create the course while we were sitting in here. So if I jump into field 110, have no headland, use everything the same, single tool. Now the key here is knowing that those two windrowers are 6 meters wide each. If I tell this to run 12 meters from where we are right now, it should create a course which goes up and down, and you can almost see it there with where the windrowers are, that they're going to be straddling half and half. So all going to plan, we can drive that course from our nearest position. Follow me will follow along, and we'll get the potatoes harvested. Technically now all I need to do is, when the truck gets full, as I'm not using courseplay or auto drive for that, is run it to the sell points or to the storage point, whichever one we are doing. Obviously the last piece of the pack is the Trinity live bottom trailer that we're just running down to one of the sell points. So we're just going to have a look at that, see how that all works for unloading, and then we'll get back and wrap things up. So we're just down here at Central Feed Supplies. This is one of the sell points right next to our farm we have on our live stream. But we'll just get into selling, and there you go, we've got a nice animation, the flap opening on the back, and then the product all coming out. We just hop up over top, nice quick unload speed by the looks of things. That was an impressive unload, nice and fast. and $24,000 of potatoes. So you're not going to argue if you can get that sort of income off that size field in that sort of time. And that pretty much wraps up our look at the Spudnik Potato Harvest Pack by Justin Gilbertson. So for rather impressive bits of equipment in my mind, certainly game changers for potato harvesting, being able to cover off bigger areas quicker and more efficiently, being able to set it up using courseplay like I've shown, and just generally being able to get more done than you can do with the current potato equipment without going down the crazy modded harvester route. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. I will leave a link in the description to the Facebook page. Make sure you go there, download it from the official link, and leave a comment. Thank Justin for his work on that. From what I've seen on the custom modding group, he's quite an active member there, has released a number of other mods as well, so go and check those out. But I'm going to wrap things up from there. I do hope you've enjoyed that. Like I said at the start, something a little bit different. But thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.